video here. I think picture 1,000 words in terms of my progress on the new IRP system. So I think there's kind of three pieces that I wanted to just talk about and kind of talk through and show. So first of all is the database, the underlying database. So that all exists, is created, and is completely populated right now. There's an awards table, which is one row per award you could get. There's a members table. This is going to be copied over from the ACC membership system on a regular basis. And so this is going to keep track of expiration date, name, city, state, like your membership status, your ACC number, everything is in there. These two tables are just are tables that will go away at some point. This is what I'm just using to temporarily keep track of the old screen names through the old registration process, since that's running in parallel right now with me building this new system. So these will go away, but it's just how I'm loading data that Kevin sends me periodically. There's pending registrations. So like when you first go to register a screen name, it'll be pending until you approve it. We'll talk about that process in a second. There's player awards, so that's which players have been given which awards. There's roles, that's roles within the system, that goes with users, right? So there's a commissioner role, a statistician role, and then the users are going to be, me and Jennifer and John and Sally. There's screen name history, so once your registration gets approved, then it goes into the screen name history. So these are all the official screen names, and it's got a complete history of every screen name for every site in the screen name histories. There's a season, so there's one row per season that keeps track of how many tournaments you're allowed to play in that season, when the season started and ended. There's sites, one row per site. There's site tournament types. Well, there's tournament types, which is like what types of tournaments can you play. So like a 9-game grassroots, a single elimination bracket, a double elimination bracket, a quarterly season. Then there's site tournament types. So that's the combination of what tournaments types can be run on which sites. So not all tournament types can be run on each site. So this tells which tournament types go with which sites. You've got the tournaments themselves, so one row per tournament. In this table, you've got tournament schedules. This is used to create the tournaments. So, for example, a tournament schedule record would be e-cribbage on Monday is every Monday weekly at 9 p.m. Eastern, for example. And then we've got tournament results. That's one row per player per every tournament that they played in. So this whole thing is ready to go and populated. So for example, just to show a couple of tables, if we just select everything from the sites table, for example, we can see that there are 4 sites currently active as Game Colony, eCrib Plus, and Cribbage Pro. And the zone is not active. And then you can specify a priority. It's just the order in which the sites show up in the UI when the sites are listed on the website. And so that's a fully populated sites table. If we want to see how many rows are in the tournament results table, that's by far the biggest table. So we have loaded in 282,874 rows. And so for example, if I select, I can select my records. So where ACC number equals CA4627. This will pull all of my results. And so you can see in season 1, I played in all of these tournaments. This is my ACC number. This was my screen name at the time. Where did I come? And then over here is the number of IRPs that I got. And so, and then it's just all of the records for me every single season, down through season 23. So like I played in 1,133 tournaments so far. So there are 1,133 like records for me in this table. So database is all good, all there, fully populated with all of the history of the internet program back to like the beginning of 2004 and ready to go. There's three things that I'm maintaining on an ongoing basis right now. Every week, the membership system sends out an email. I then go in and like update this table. Eventually, we need Scott to automate a procedure that copies the data in there. For now, I'm just like manually like updating this table every week based on the email that I'm sent with the membership update. Um, like I mentioned, the screen names, like we've still got the registration process happening with the old registration. So I need to just like keep that in sync with like what I have in my system. And then on a monthly basis, John is sending me the results in his results database, and I take those results and I load them into the tournament results table to like keep up with what he's got in his database until we switch over there. So there's kind of three things I'm doing manually to keep the data in this system in sync with the current system as we're building out this new system. Okay, so that's the database part of it. So looking really good there. Next part is I'll like tease this a little bit, but next part is like what the members actually see. And so I haven't built out all of the content pages. So Jennifer and Sally did a great job creating and refactoring like some of the content to really simplify and make kind of better this menu over here on the left hand side. I have not put the content only pages in yet. I think it's kind of probably going to make sense to do a quick rev of the content based on how this system works. But I've got like a place for all of those. But in terms of this left hand side, there's really only two pages that are my pages that are kind of functional pages versus content pages. So right now I have this like registered screen name list page. So it lists out the players and their screen names that are registered on each one. You can see that Cribbage Pro is here because I'm testing out the registration process with Cribbage Pro. So if you scroll down to me, wherever I may be, then you'll see that I have like a registered screen name for Cribbage Pro there because I was just testing it on myself. If we need to break this up into like screen name lists for each site, like that's obviously really easy to do. It seemed easier to just like show all of the sites and all of the stuff that you're registered for in one place. So that's what I built as a starting point. But we can definitely tweak that if we need to have separate lists. We could also make it easy to sort if we wanted to add like a sort on each of these columns. So you could sort by the screen name instead of sorting by the player. We could do that pretty easily as well. So that's like just a list of the registered screen names. And then there's the actual registration process. In the way that this is going to work, so I'll just like re-register. I'll just change my Cribbage Pro screen name. So like I go through and I just type you just start typing your last name. And once you've typed enough, right? Like, so if I only have Greg, then it's like kind of pull in a ton of people. So you have to just keep typing your last name until it's unique enough that you can find yourself, and then you just select yourself, and you hit continue, and then it's going to pull up all of your existing screen names, and it's going to validate like your email address because we're going to send a once you submit this for approval, it's going to send you an email. So like instead of going to the internet registrar, it's just going to go to the person who's asking for the change, and they're going to be the one that confirms the change. So this isn't actually working locally for me because I don't have email set up on my local server, but I will just submit this. So like it was A to Z crib 2, and I'll just remove the 2 and submit it for approval. So this part is going to fail because it's not going to send the email just because I don't have email configured on my local computer properly. So we'll just wait a second for this to like properly fail. Obviously, it will work up on the like regular website, which is configured to send emails. So obviously, gonna just get an error there. But you'll see that like now there's a record in the database. There's like now a pending registration. So if I select star from pending registrations, then you'll see that there's now a like record in the pending registrations table like for me. So like this is my ACC number. Site 4 is Cribbage Pro. Like the new screen name that I'm asking for is A to Z Crib. And then it generates a confirmation token. So that confirmation token is going to be included in the email. And then the idea is that you would click the link in the email, and then it would go to a page that confirms this. And so like there is, so I'll just like mimic that, right? Um, so I think then might have to look up the name of the page here, but so there's registration confirm. So it's registration confirm.php, and then token equals, and then I put the token that was in the database in there. And so now it just says success, your screen names have been verified and updated. And then when I go back to, and we can put like a link here, but when I go back to the registered screen name list, you can see that my screen name has now been changed from A to Z Crib 2 to just A to Z Crib. And so you're able to just update your screen names like yourself instantly, like right away. The reason we built this approval process and sending yourself an email is because if we didn't have that, then anybody could change anybody else's screen name. And so by sending the confirmation email to your email address that's on file, only you can change your screen name. And we don't get in this weird situation where somebody accidentally changes somebody else's screen name or intentionally changes somebody else's screen name, and it kind of just messes with everything. So that's the like registration process. So then we've got all of this other stuff built out. These are all the other pages that the members see. So there's a schedule and results like page. So it'll first show all the upcoming tournaments, and then it'll show if it's the current season. Then it'll show all of the like past tournaments. If you select a season in the past, then obviously there's no upcoming tournaments. It'll just show you all of the previous tournaments. So from any tournament, like back to the very beginning of time. So the very first tournament ever run was on February 12th, 2004. And if we click on view results, we see that Mike Fetchel like was the winner of the very first ever internet tournament in the ACC. So you can pull up the results from any tournament, like through from the like very first one through to the end, and just kind of go crazy with exploring all of the like tournament results if you want. There is a standings page, so this is the standings for this season. It's got like ranks in there, which it doesn't have, which the current version doesn't have. And then you can just choose any like previous season. So if we select our favorite season, which is the season that we won it in, you can just go explore the standings once again for any season. We've got season wins. So once again, this is like how many wins does each player have in a given season. There's a kind of a neat breakout between the like sites here. So for example, John's got 6 wins or 11 wins total this season. He's got 6 on Game Colony and 5 on eCribbage. So it's kind of a neat breakout of like where people are winning their tournaments. So for example, eCribbage hates me, so all of my wins are on Game Colony, even though I've played hundreds, tens of tournaments on eCribbage. Um, and then so Nancy, for example, has all of her wins on eCribbage. So that's just kind of a fun additional breakdown that we don't have today in terms of where people's wins are coming from. And then there's this monthly point leader, and so this is kind of cool. Obviously, I don't have any results loaded for May, but the idea here is that you'll be able to follow along right now. Like you just wait till the end of the month and someone is named point leader of the month. Here, you'll be able to follow along because as each tournament is loaded, the results of each tournament are loaded in. This will like dynamically update, and so people can kind of follow on and see if they're close to leading or not. Might encourage people to play a little bit more at the end of the month if they have a chance to be the point leader. So hopefully, kind of create a little bit of like in month kind of fun in terms of that. So if we look at, and you can look back in the past. So for example, conveniently enough, I was player of the month in April, and so you can see how many points I had. I just nipped Brad Henderson by like 20 points, and then this is where everybody else kind of finished up. So you can go back in time and see kind of where everybody finished up in terms of like the player of the month race, point leader of the month race for like each month that it takes place. We've got our lifetime IRPs here, and so all the IRPs and all the tournaments got everybody like ranked again. I don't think there's like a ranking on the current one, so got a ranking here. And then kind of the cool thing here is you can click on a name and you can kind of get a breakdown, which is so this is new. So you can get like total IRPs, how many times so this is Dan Creed's record. How many times did he qualify? How many times did he earn IRPs? What percentage of the time does he earn IRPs? What's his average IRPs per tournament? You can get a breakdown of like how many total IRPs he's gotten on each of the sites, how many tournaments he played on each of the sites, how many wins on each of the sites. So it just gives you kind of a breakdown of like where people are playing and earning their points and like the relative number of points they're earning on each of the sites. And then it's got like a record of every single season, so you can see kind of how often you're qualifying and winning like in each season. And then it's got the complete like tournament results of every single tournament that he's played like ever, so people can audit like what we have as our records versus what they have as their records. If there are people who are keeping track of every single thing, they can audit and make sure that what we've got in the system matches what they have. Then we've got lifetime wins, so very similar to season wins. It's just over the course of the entire history of the internet program. We've got our award winners. So this is kind of cool. Went back kind of in history and calculated the date, like since we have all of the tournaments like in the tournament results, we can know exactly what date everybody earned their awards. So everybody's like just rank ordered in terms of like the exact like date that they earned their award. So anytime anybody earns a new award, it'll just automatically like show up on this list. And then we've got our like, past champions page. So did two things here. This is like the total number of championships that people have won. So Dan and Mike have each won 5 championships. Mark won 3. Tom has won 2. Everybody else just 1. And then it lists out the individual champions of each season and how many points they have. So this is a starting point for like what will the new section look like for members. I have not actually built the internet homepage yet. I wasn't sure if we wanted to have anything dynamic on that page or if we think that that's just like a static kind of content only page. So the one page I haven't kind of touched or thought about yet is the page that you actually see when you click on like play online up here, but have everything built out here and have the registration related things built out there. And so then there is the actual admin dashboard that John and Sally and Jennifer will be using to actually administer like the program and change things on their side. So the way that that's going to work is you'll just go here and only they'll have like this link. And so you'll log in. They'll each have a login and a password. And so they'll come here and they'll log in. And then this is like everything. So we'll have to figure out like who sees what out of all of this stuff. But right now this is just like everything. So that you guys can all see everything that I've built here. So first of all, there's like a system access section. So you can click here and you can see all of the users. Because I'm logged in, I can't like delete myself or edit myself. You can only change like other users. But I could edit like a user, right? So I could edit and like change like their role, or I could give them a new password if they've forgotten their password. Um, and so you would edit a user there, and then I could obviously, like, if somebody rolls off of the internet program and we need to remove them, then you can like delete them. And so like that should, if we want to do a delete, it'll like, make sure, and so like you can cancel and then not do it, right? So anytime you're deleting anything, it's gonna like confirm that you really want to do that, before letting you just make a change. So that's users. There's roles. These are the three roles. Like right now, you can delete a role, but only if it's not in use. And so there's no role, like all three of these roles, there's a user assigned to them, and it says how many users are assigned to each role right here. You can edit the role and just like change the name if you want to change the name of the role. But that's really the only thing you can edit in terms of like a role at this point. So this is like your just system access and who's using the system and what roles do they have. This is the sites and tournament types section. So like what are we playing and where are we playing it? So these are the four sites that we're playing on, and then there's a priority for each one, and they're sorted by the priority here. There's a status, so the zone is inactive because there's no longer tournaments played there. That was a site that was played on the first few years. And then you can edit, you can delete a site, but only so like, and then you can add a site. So for example, I'll just add a site just for fun. And so I just added a site with a like display priority of 10, so it gets sorted to the bottom. Because I haven't added any schedules or no tournaments have ever been run on that site or nobody's ever registered for that site, right? Like then I can just like go ahead and delete this. Once there's other things happening, you can't like delete a site, right? Because we don't want to like, can't delete the zone because there's a bunch of tournament results that rely on the fact that we ran on the zone. And so you can only delete a site if there's like nothing else related to that site in the system. And so I could just go ahead and delete this one, and then it'll be gone again. But for any of these, you can edit them, and you can like change the name, right? So it was eCribbage, I changed it to eCribbage Plus. Um, there's a like display priority. So if we wanted to like change, maybe we work with Josh for a while, and then we realized that like, hey, we really want to like make Game Colony or Cribbage Pro a higher priority than Game Colony in terms of the order that we're showing the sites on the site. Then we can just go in here and like swap the priority and like make Game Colony priority 3 and Cribbage Pro priority 2, for example. And then you can also say, well, like maybe we stop running tournaments on Game Colony or whatever. Then you can just like uncheck this box, and then it will no longer be active. And then if you remove it from being active, like it'll just automatically get removed from the registration process. And yeah, and it will just behave kind of like the zone behaves, right? Like the zone wasn't part of that registration process because it was an inactive site. And so that's the sites piece of it. This is the tournament types. You can't actually edit anything here, but this just like is a good way for people to see like, okay, well, what tournament types are currently options? What ones are future requests but are not like valid options right now? And then there's historical formats. These are things that were run on this site previously, but we aren't going to support moving forward. And so this is just like just a reference page. You can't really edit anything here because in order for these options to work, I need to do back end programming to like ingest the results of this type of tournament, and so that requires like programming. So only the programmer myself can actually like change the options and the future requests in the historical formats because it only works once there's back end programming done to like enable these tournament types to actually work. All right, next is we can go in any order, but next I have the awards section. So this is just like the list of awards that I have in the system. If somebody has been given an award, you can't like delete that award because that would mess things up. Nobody's reached these levels yet, so if we don't want to have this many like award levels, let's say we like don't need like a 9-star because we don't think anybody will ever get to 50,000 points, then we can just go ahead and like delete that award level and it's gone. And you can always add it back, right? Like you can always add it back if you need it by just like creating a new award level and like doing it that way and just adding the name and the number of IRPs needed. So for example, if we just want to add that one back, we would just like go ahead. I'll just grab. Oh my goodness, operator error. I'll just go ahead and grab this name and then put it there and change the 8 to 9. Oops, not 9 stars. That'd be bad. Not that it matters. Not that you can change it. And then this requires 50,000 IRPs, and we do that. And apparently, we have not actually created this store procedure because we've never tried to add that. So that's a fun bug. So anyway, pretend that worked. And then you can go ahead and edit like any. You can go ahead and edit any award level. Like so, for example, I'll just do this, even though I shouldn't do this. So like now, instead of needing 2,000 IRPs, you now need 2,001 IRPs. I will like change that back, but you can change the name or the IRPs needed for any award level. So that's like just kind of managing the awards. And then there's the player awards piece. So this is people who have earned awards. So these are all the people who have earned an award this season. And then these are all the people who have earned awards in the past historically. So it's broken down into the current season and previous seasons. So this lists out everybody who earned the award, what date they earned it in, what like rank number they earned like their award. So like Pat Legel was the 15th person to earn Life Master 1 star, for example. And then there's like a status. So Terry has like received his award, I assume because he chose a pro membership. I don't have the prizes in here for this, except for Lori's because I know Lori's getting a trophy. But you can go ahead and like edit anybody here, and then you can like designate what prize they chose, just to be able to keep track of that. And then there's like a little bit there's a notes section. So you'll notice here, like if I edit Lori, it says that she's going to get a trophy and she's going to pick it up at the Grand National as the notes. And then once somebody has like gotten their award, then you can just like check this box and it will like note that they've actually received their award. So you can just use that to keep track of just kind of like award, like prize distribution and kind of prize management, like related to the like different awards. There were 2 people here who were not listed. These 2 folks were not listed on the existing e-master list, but they actually have enough points to be e-master. So I put their status as pending just to remind us to like take a look and see if we did in fact like give these 2 players ever their e-master award. And so they're listed as pending. Everybody else is marked as received because they received it in like a previous season. And then it sorts the ones that are pending from previous seasons like up to the top, so that you can like manage those more easily. That's kind of the award management piece of it. This is kind of fun. This is like a data check section. So there's all of these things that like all these things that might be inconsistent kind of throughout the database. And this is a way to just like see them easily, like within the system. So like this one is called award milestone mismatches. And so this is like if the date that's in the award table doesn't actually match when you got your award, then it's going to show like any mismatches here. Now I think I went through and I fixed all of these because I was just like creating this data and then like redoing it. So like if a check runs and there aren't any problems, then it's just going to say like great, there's not any problems, which is what we see here. Um, so this one in this case is fine. As some of the people who have already been given awards but haven't actually earned them, like actually earned them, then I think like this will start to show some like errors and some mismatches in the data. So then this next one is like awards that have been given but not yet earned. So you can just keep track of like how are we doing. There's these 9 players have like been given an award, but they didn't actually haven't actually like reached the like milestone yet. So you can see how far away each of those like players is. So it's just a good way to good place to just go and be able to like see everybody who's kind of short and like where they're at. This is like award ranks that are out of order. So like it just goes through and like calculates everybody's like how when everybody earned their like various award and make sure that the like ranking is correct relative to when they earned it. Then there's a bunch of just like data integrity checks and system checks with like screen names. So like these are all the people who have like an active screen name, but they have no email address on file with the ACC. And it's sorted by when they last played, right? So most of the people who don't have an active email address but have registered a screen name have never played, right? So you can see all these people who have never played. So those are perhaps like not a big deal, not people that we really like kind of want to worry about. But maybe some of these people who have played this year, there's only 3 of them. We might want to like reach out to them and ask them to like send Brenda like their email addresses so that we have them on file moving forward because we're going to use the membership system as the source of truth. The good news is that almost every player in the internet program has an email address on file in the membership system already, right? And only these 3 people who have played in the last 3 years, like, are the ones that don't have active screen names but don't have email addresses on file with the ACC. So that's actually really good news in terms of like the systems kind of working together there. These are deceased players with active screen names. Um, so, for example, Dave Clemmy has an active screen name, but he last played in February of 2021, and he has passed away. If we want to, we can like you can like deactivate a player. So, actually, this will be an interesting check. So, um, this is screen names with no email address, and they're 65. I'm gonna guess. Oh no, I guess he had an email address. Never mind. Sometimes you can find that there are like deceased players on the list. So, but anyway, so these are deceased players with no active screen names. So, for example, like here's Dave Clemmy, and if we want, we can just like deactivate his screen name, and then it'll just set like the end of his screen name to be. So now there's only 57 left here. There were 58 before, and then the screen name successfully deactivated. So if you want, I can just go through and click this button for like all of the 57. I just was doing this for illustration, but it's just a way like as players pass away, just gives you a way to deactivate their screen name like within the like tool. We've got lapsed members with active screen names. This will be handy, like in terms of reminding people that their membership has lapsed. You're going to see some like data errors here, right? So, for example, this is Lori's daughter's like screen name, but it's assigned to Don Oliver. It's because at some point somebody fat fingered it. Don Oliver's screen name is CA47472, and Angie's ACC number is CA7572. So like this is just actually like an error. Like Don Oliver never registered to play in the internet, but somebody just like entered his like ACC number by mistake. But in general, this is supposed to just show members whose membership has lapsed, but who have active screen names. And so this will again be handy. Like okay, like somebody lapses, we can shoot them. You can shoot them a reminder. Hey, like you're lapsed. If you don't renew within that 2 months, you're not going to get your IRPs if you let this be lapsed for more than 2 months. So that's just a handy way to kind of know who's potentially in trouble before they actually lose their points. Um, this one's an interesting one. There's hundreds of screen names where sometimes there's a member, an ACC number associated with them, and sometimes they're not. I haven't dug in here and really like investigated this, but there's 460 screen names where sometimes there's an ACC number associated with it, and sometimes there isn't. And I'll get into that in a little bit more when I get into the like results part of this. But then there's like past tournaments with no results. So you can see any kind of like, so there was tournaments run in 2024 and 2023. I probably just need to go through and delete them, but it'll just kind of show you any tournament that was run in the past that doesn't have any results. Those are probably just tournaments that were canceled for various different reasons. Um, there's overlapping screen name ranges. So this is people who had multiple screen names active on the same site at the same time. And there's 84 of these. A lot of these are just like typos. So for example, Mel Ashley, somebody fat fingered his screen name in one of the results records because he's got what, one L in this one, and he's got two L's in his regular one. So like somebody just needs to go in and like fix his screen name on this like July 31st record to be the same screen name. So you're gonna see a lot of like typos and like so like Bob Bartosh like has one tournament where there's a typo in his screen name, for example. So it's just going to highlight a bunch of the like just like small kind of data errors that exist kind of with all of the like historical data and all of the stuff that was like done manually versus like which is kind of the point of like creating a system. But somebody should probably like go through all of that and like make some decisions to clean some of that stuff. I've been cleaning some of it up as I've been going. But it hasn't been like a huge like priority to clean it up. I think it won't be too bad to clean all of it up. There's actually not like we were just talking about the fact there's 280,000 rows and there's only like 84 like rows in some of these like audit like the number of errors is actually like really small for like the sheer volume of data that we have, but there are some errors. um, there are and so you can just run each of these like checks, and I'll add more and more checks as I like kind of think of stuff. Like, so for example, I probably should add a pending registrations. That way people can see like all the registrations where people tried to submit their screen name but they didn't actually approve it. Stuff like that. We can, whatever we need or whatever we want to kind of track and monitor to like make sure that everything is okay with the system, like we would just go ahead and like add to like this particular section. Then there's the scheduling piece of it, and so this is where you can go and like see all of the seasons. You can't you can only create a season. You can only create a season like so far in advance. So you can see here that I've already created next season. So I can't create the 27-28 season yet. You have to be in the 2026-2027 season to be able to create the next season. So we don't want people creating seasons like way out into the future. And then you can only edit the current season or future season. You can't edit or change any of the seasons that have happened like in the past. But I just listed them here so that people can see them and see like what was the tournament limit like each season, for example, historically. And so then yeah, and you can delete the next season, but only if there aren't any tournaments associated with it. And if I actually go into the tournaments like piece of it, you'll see that I actually created like all the tournaments for next season. But I can actually like delete all of those tournaments. So if I go ahead and delete all of those tournaments, then there's no tournaments associated with next season. And then if I go back to the seasons, then I could actually delete the season, right? So as long as there's no tournaments associated with the season, I can delete the season if I want to. So then if I go back here, there's this ongoing schedule piece. This is like what tournaments are played when on what sites. And so for any site, you can add a new record. So for example, if we wanted to like add a single elimination bracket to eCribbage, you would just go here, for example, and you would say, okay, on eCribbage, I want to do a single elimination bracket. I want it to be weekly. I want it to be on who knows. I want it to be like on Tuesdays, and I want like the time to be, like whatever, 9 o'clock, 9:44 a.m. And then when do I want the first like instance of that tournament to like happen? And so for the sake of argument, I've just been like setting everything to like 2025, but like January 1st, 2025. And then you can save that. And then there's so now we've got a single elimination bracket record on the schedule. Oh, it didn't save the date. That's no good. But anyway, this is we need to like QA some of this stuff. So I'll just like delete that for now. But you can like add kind of like new schedule records there. I've got the quarterly season for Cribbage Pro. I'm going back and forth with Josh right now. It might make sense to not have a schedule for that, but so that's your ongoing schedule, and then there's your tournaments. And so, like in terms of managing tournaments, you can only manage tournaments. You can only edit tournaments that don't have results. Once a tournament has results, you can't modify the tournament itself. And so these are the only tournaments. These are the only seasons that have tournaments that don't have results. I probably should go through and like delete some of these tournaments, right? Because this tournament, like these tournaments, were just not run. So you can just like delete a tournament and then it'll just go away, right? And so for all of the seasons in the past, we should probably just like clean up the tournaments and just like delete them out because they were just like not run, and there's no sense in having like data and rows in there when the tournament just wasn't run. And so then once you delete that, like then that season no longer has tournaments. So you can basically be able to manage like the current season, and so you can edit a tournament, and you can like change what day it was on, or you can change the start time, or you can change like the site that it was on, um, if you want to. So you can edit any kind of tournament that doesn't have results yet. The really interesting part is like what you can do for next season. So you can add individual tournaments if you want, like, but what's kind of cool is that if you just do this create tournaments from schedule, it's going to take that ongoing schedule, and it's just going to like create tournaments for the entire season based on the schedule, right? So like we've now got a tournament on August 1st, 2026, second, third, fourth, and it's like created the entire schedule based on those ongoing schedules that you created. And as long as the season hasn't started, you can delete everything and start over if you want. So like maybe you didn't have the schedule exactly how you wanted it and you just want to start over, you can like delete everything. You can also add individual tournaments, and then we could look through this and go, okay, like, we've got something scheduled probably on Christmas or maybe Christmas Eve. Hey, we don't really want to have the one on Christmas Eve, so we'll go ahead and like delete the one on Christmas Eve. And then we've got so you can go through after it like generates like the entire schedule. You can go through and like delete the ones where we don't want to like play on a like specific day for a specific reason. So that's how you kind of create your overall like schedule for the season. The only piece I have left is the results. So I just need to like build a way to load the tournament results in. So that'll happen through this. And then we're going to want probably like a player results and a screen name results section. So as players write in with questions, we need a way to just like bring up all of the results from that player ever. So it's really easy to see like that player's results all in one place, and then just build a way to like edit their results or make changes or tweak stuff. So this is the only piece that I have kind of left in terms of like getting kind of a first version of this whole thing kind of done. So that's like where I'm at in terms of like overall progress on this. I'm probably, I don't know, I feel like I'm maybe 90% of the way through. Obviously got to do some debugging. Obviously there's some like loose ends as you kind of play with it and use it. And I'm sure as you guys are playing with it and use it, we'll want to like change some various different things. But in general, making like pretty good progress in terms of like overall kind of creating the system here. So feeling good about the timelines for all this. I'm hoping that by the end of May, so it gives me 11 more days, I'll have kind of like a first version of everything created. Then we can use June, I'm hoping, for me to like QA it, and kind of just like maybe I can just practice uploading the like tournament results like into here and just kind of using the system, and then maybe John can come in here and start using it and like practicing with it, and then maybe as soon as hoping like maybe July 1st we can like launch this new system, because then we were going to want to do the registrations for Cribbage Pro right for next year. So I feel like we're in pretty good shape in terms of this whole thing. Like, is it perfect yet? Like, no, but like a healthy chunk of like what we need is there. So that's my update. Just seemed easier to just kind of show everybody, a little show and tell here. I know this is 45 minutes. Good on you if you made it to this point and are hearing me say good on you. All right, have a good one.